Hey, JK here. I want to thank you for sharing part of your day with me.
Y'all ready for this?
Welcome back to 30 Teams in 30 Days. This is day 17, and we're going to be talking about one of my favorite teams. I would have to say they're my second favorite team, behind the Yankees, of course, the Athletics. Now, their record in 2025 was 76 and 86. The funny thing is, this is actually their best record ever because they don't have a city affiliated with them, so it's the only record they've ever had. But in all seriousness, this is their best record since 2021. And here's the thing. You need to keep in mind that just because it's not above 500, it is still progress. And we're going to keep progress in mind as we talk about these Athletics. Now, again, this may not sound like anything exciting, and this may not sound like any sort of improvement, but when you go from 46 to 14, that is a huge improvement. That is 30 plus games. So this team has improved 30 games over the last 4 years. And I really think that 2026 is going to be a phenomenal year for them. For all intents and purposes, it will strictly be because of their bats, very little, if any, because of their pitching. As we move to the offensive leaders, Brent Rooker led in most everything except home runs, which was Shea Langoliers. But Nick Kurtz actually hit more with 36. You also had Tyler Soderstrom leading in RBI, so that was pretty good. He is someone we're going to be talking about here just very shortly because he made a huge improvement. Also, our boy Lawrence Butler led in stolen bases and also strikeouts. And the batting average, Jacob Wilson, we're going to be talking about him as well. This team is great. And I want to reiterate how great it is because Nick Kurtz, again, did not qualify, but led in OPS and slugging and home runs. So he didn't play enough games, but still led in all those. And that's not saying anything bad about the rest of the guys. He was just great. Yeah, we're going to talk about him. But let's talk about Brent Rooker for a second because I really like Brent Rooker. He was drafted by, of all teams, the Twins. Tell me the last time you heard the Twins letting go of a good player. Obviously, the big one is Mr. David Ortiz, who it was Mr. David Arias before, but they've done it with a few different players. But anyway, Brent Rooker, 2017. Then they traded him to the Padres along with Taylor Rogers for Emilio Pagan and Chris Paddock. What? Then after that, the Padres traded him to the Royals for catcher Cam Gallagher. What? Then he was not performing with the Royals, so they just flat out DFA'd him. Then it all became a magical carpet ride when the Athletics scooped in, and he has been amazing ever since. Again, I like Brent Rooker because he's really an underdog. I knew he was with the Twins. I had no idea he was with the Padres. Not a clue he was with the Royals. So that's how short the time would have been. But as we go from Brent Rooker, we have to go to some other big playmakers and go by a very interesting stat line and calendar year. Nick Kurtz. That's right. We got to say it like that. He was drafted in 2024 after 2 years at Wake Forest. Okay, I'm from East Carolina, so I have to hate other schools in North Carolina, including Wake Forest. Boo, Demon Deacons. Anyway, very quickly shot up to be in the top 100 for the Athletics and for Major League Baseball. Then in 2025, he made his appearance. It was like somehow in April. A little slow start. Took him, I don't know, probably 15, 20 games to get his first home run. And then he exploded. 36 home runs, 86 RBIs, 90 runs scored, a 290 batting average, unanimous Rookie of the Year. Well, he is now, in my league at least, I'm sure in others, very high draft pick. If I keep him, he is going to be a third round keeper. Wow. That is crazy. Is that too much? Is that too high? I think so, but I'm not about to let anyone else figure it out because he is still hitting at Sutter Health Park, and they have a very short right field, and he is a left-handed hitter, which I think is why Mr. Taylor Soderstrom had such a good year. I know I messed up that name. Taylor Soderstrom. But before we get to him, let's talk about my boy, Jacob Wilson. I call him my boy because I really like Jacob Wilson. Now, obviously, he's not a power hitter. He will probably never be a power hitter, especially coming right after Nick Kurtz, like as we talk about this. But he did slam 13 home runs last year. In college and going through the minors, they talked about his ability to make contact being almost freakish which that's pretty good. When I think of that, I think of Vladimir Guerrero. And I'm not putting him in the same sentence. I'm definitely not talking about Vladdy Daddy for the Blow Jays. Talking about the original Vladimir Guerrero, the guy that could not find a bad pitch and always found a way to make contact. Well, that's kind of like the power hitter of Jacob Wilson. His dad did play as well, so Vladdy Daddy and Jacob Wilson both have something in common. Their dads played in Major League Baseball. All that to say, Jacob Wilson finished second in AL Rookie of the Year voting. So 2 guys from the same team, first and second. That is awesome. I am super excited about all that, mainly because I'm an Athletics fan. Now, again, I'm not like pulling my fanhood from the Yankees and giving it to Athletics. I always like the Athletics because of Josh Donaldson, because of Yoenis Cespedes. I like those 2 guys. And then these new guys coming in, Nick Kurtz, Brett Rooker, Jacob Wilson, Larry Butler, big fan of them. So before we move on to the negatives, let's go ahead and get to another positive. Taylor Soderstrom, he broke out last year. Good gosh, he was on fire to start the season. Did cool down a little bit, but still, he was great. Popped 25 home runs, had 98 RBIs, saw all of the stats go up, mainly because he was actually playing more. He came up through the minors and through the athletics organization as a catcher. Well, there's a huge Shea Langoliers named problem that was standing in his way to play catcher. And the defense wasn't as good as Langoliers. So he's like, hey, let me play first. Well, there's a Nick Kurtz size problem there. So he's playing outfield. Quick correction, after I looked at the stats, he had 93 RBIs. But he did have 141 strikeouts in 158 games. Well, the strikeouts were an issue for him coming up through the minors in his first few years. So again, the fact that he's able to hone that, have less strikeouts than games played, I think that's huge. Okay, we've talked some guys up and we're super excited. The only knock I have on any of these guys is Nick Kurtz did make 10 errors there at first base. He's a rookie, still learning the pace of the game, obviously not the pitching, but that's the only knock on any of these guys. Now let's move to the guys where we can have a little more knock on them because they fell flat. And the first guy we're talking about, Larry Butler. Lawrence Butler had me salivating because he showed so much promise. I was absolutely all in on him, actually to the point where I kept him in one of my leagues. He's an 8th round keeper. Well, that was not a good idea because he did not perform. And it's frustrating. It really is. I don't know what happened. There was a little, health issue, some IL concern, but mainly, oh boy, just can't hit the lefties. My God. To the point where they were sitting him against lefties because he was so bad. He was hitting 188 against the lefties. What was he hitting against righties? 246. So still not great, but better than 188. As we continue to talk about the change from 24 to 25, he had 150 more at-bats in 2025. He did have more runs, more hits, and more walks. Positive. On the other hand, he did have less home runs, less RBIs, less stolen bases, and 70 plus more strikeouts. Yikes. Well, did he have a lot more walks? Not 70 more. So, dang. And you had 150 more at bats, so 150 more times to get on base. And the clip you did get on base at, you stole less bases. Now, could that be because of the injury? Could that be heels or knees or whatever? Maybe, but man, I was frustrated. I really was because the ratios went down and the batting average goes down. But if other stats go up, you pull a Kyle Schwarber, Eugenio Suarez, if you're getting the bombs out there, but get less home runs. Obviously, he's going to be hoping to correct all these going into 2026. He did have off-season knee surgery, which is probably what slowed him down. He didn't come out and say that, but you have knee surgery. As someone who's had like 3 of them, it sucks, saps you of your power, your speed, able to push off, so on and so forth. But he hasn't even had Cactus League hits yet. He's done some batting practice, but no live play. So that's concerning. That's real concerning. But again, people heal at different rates. Fingers crossed, Butler, man, gets back on the field and is phenomenal, just like I hope and want him to be and need him to be for the sake of the Athletics. The next letdown guy we're going to talk about is J.J. Bleday. He was a first-round draft pick for the Marlins back in the day, had a very uninspiring first year with him, was then traded to Athletics, uninspiring year, and then 2024, he broke out. This breakout wasn't just we're playing in more games. In those 59 games, he was able to double home runs, double runs, double RBIs, and quadruple his doubles from 11 to 43. That's not quadrupling. That is adding almost 4 times as many. Okay, dude. 3.9 times whatever. But I digress. You get the point. He was really good, especially hitting doubles. So the 20-game improvement from 23 to 24, huge in part to the play of Mr. Brent Rooker to J.J. Bleday and, the others. But we're talking about those two now. Well, mainly J.J. Bleday. But 2025 just was not his year. He performed so poorly, they sent him down to the minors. He did come up once or twice because of injuries, but still could not find any sort of rhythm. Was eventually DFA'd this offseason, and even though that DFA did sound bad, he's now going to Cincinnati, which is a hitter's park. The last letdown guy we're talking about is Zach Geloff. I was really a big fan of him. His 69-game appearance in 2023 had me definitely looking for him in drafts. Nice 69 games. I also traded for him. The guy that I was in my fantasy league with really liked Marcelo Meyer, which that's fine. You can have him. But I got him to trade me Geloff, Andrew Benintendi, and Alejandro Kirk. I might be thinking, it's a bad trade. Well, 1, I'm not a Red Sox fan, so take him. 2, Kirk is pretty good. Benny he's bad, but he's not the worst. And Geloff was a guy that I really liked. So I was willing to make that move. Anyway, 3 for 1 anyway. So 2023, super great. 2024, he did double his games, but uninspiring jumps in his stats. He didn't really do a ton, but did almost double his stolen bases from 14 to 25. So 2024, okay, you're playing in more games to see if we can get you up. 2025, nope. Start on the IL, played in 30 games, and then had season-ending surgery. And now the Athletics have brought in second baseman Jeff McNeil, the former batting champion. I know we've touched on it 14 times already, but again, he's playing second for him, and Geloff is going to need an injury to come up for him to even get close to sniffing the field. So it is what it is, brother. On an unrelated note to letting anyone down, I do want to point out that Denzel Clark, an outfielder for the Athletics, very young, we just said 25, looks like he's 50 years old and writes reports and submits them via Excel spreadsheets all day. Comes home and likes to ride his lawnmower while wearing one of those big hats, like a sun hat, in a button-down Hawaiian shirt with high socks and like Jesus sandals. And I feel like that's how he spends his afternoons and his weekends. I hope he's good so I can have him on my team, so I can have this 50-year-old accountant with 2 kids on my team. But I don't know. He hit 230 last year with 8 home runs in 40 games. Wasn't terrible, but need a little bit more from you, man. As we get to the pitching, this is yet another uninspiring and very disappointing rotation. There's not really a whole lot to talk about, but we're going to try. There were 6 guys who had more than 10 starts. They all had ERAs between 4 and 5.8, whips between 1.2 and 1.6, and only one of them averaged more than 90 pitches per start. They were as low as 80 pitches per start. So they're not even going deep in games, which is now why this next fact absolutely amazes me. Of those 6 guys' quality starts, they resulted in 38 of the total 43 for the team. So those 6 guys who had those 4 or 5 plus ERAs managed 38 quality starts between them. Wow. So the bullpen is better, right? Absolutely not. No. There was one guy who was good. That was Justin Sterner. We'll get to him separately. These next few numbers I give you will include Sterner's numbers, but there were 2 guys that had 12 plus holds. There were 2 more guys that had 7 holds. So with that being said, the ERAs were from 3.18, that was Justin Sterner's, to 6.89. That was not Sterner. Then the whips went from 1.05, that was Sterner as well, to 1.85. Lord have mercy. 1.85. So by default, Justin Sterner was the best. He had 16 holds, had the 3.18 ERA and the 1.05 whip, and was the best reliever in that bullpen, not named Mason Miller, which is the person they got rid of. Mason Miller alone had 20 saves. The rest of the team, while he was there and after he left, only accumulated 15, like the whole year. So I'm not saying go out and draft an athletics pitcher to get saves because like, oh, well, they can be, Mason Miller. No, they probably can't be. But I'm saying that not even the other like 10 people that picked up saves could pick up any more than 3, 4. Anyways, there was some positive in that Mason Miller trade. We're going to get to that as we get to the prospects. Leo DeVries, or DeVries, however you say his name, did come out of that trade, the number 4 overall prospect in Major League Baseball. So not just for the Athletics, number 4 overall. He can play second and he can play short. He is a switch hitter who has a really good eye. He's going to have to keep that walk rate up because he doesn't have a ton of power. He's never going to be a power guy. Seems like very similar to Jacob Wilson, but being able to play second and shortstop, he's got some versatility. Now, he probably won't overtake Jacob Wilson. And Jeff McNeil is not exactly the sexiest name. Going to be 30, 34 this year. So, yeah. DeVries is only 19. So, he is being fast-tracked up. I just hope the Athletics don't screw it up by bringing him up and send him down, bring him up, send him down. There's got to be a confidence trend in there, and it's got to be, hey, we believe in you. We're going to keep you up. Stay with the big guys and hone your skills, watch, batting, practice, all the good stuff, or stay down, continue to hone skills, and from there, we'll call you up at some point in time. But if he really pans out like the scouting report says, he will absolutely be worth the Mason Miller trade. Absolutely, because he'll be an everyday player instead of just hey, if we have the lead by at least 3 runs, we'll give you the ball, right? The other 2 guys are left-handed pitchers in the 40s and 50s. They are both considered to have very unorthodox or fringy arm slot deliveries. So one of them referred to them as a Chris Sale type delivery, not being Chris Sale, but his delivery. And the other one, I think, mentioned Taylor Rogers. And if you know anything about that, he's like a sidearm. I've never seen him pitch, but that's what the scouting report says. They could find some space to be up there, especially if looking for anyone like, I don't know, below a 4 ERA, right? As we get to the arrivals and departures, we're going to have to talk about some of these names. Obviously, you got Mason Miller. Whoop! You also have JJ DeBlay. Whoop! And you also have Luis Urias. Whoop! But now we get to the people who they brought in. And this could be, I won't say game-changing, but this could absolutely be a help, not only for maturity, but some skill. You brought in Jeff McNeil. And not a sexy name. If he could be half the hitter he was when he won the batting title at 328, shoot, dude, this is going to be huge for the Athletics. They also brought in some bullpen help. Brought in Mark Leiter Jr., which you might remember him for not doing well with the Yankees, and Scott Barlow. I'm a big Scott Barlow fan. Barlow has spent time in Cleveland and also in Cincinnati. Does he like Ohio? Anyway, I think he also spent time with the Padres, so I really like him, and he can fortify that bullpen. Then they brought in Aaron Savali. I really thought Aaron Savali was going to be a good pickup playing for the Brewers, but he wasn't. And he's like, he reminds me of a poor man's Kyle Hendricks. So I can only imagine it's not going to be pretty. And of course, the addition, Leo DeVries. So that could be a big name. As we get to the fantasy assets, literally any left-handed bat in that lineup because of how short right field is in Sutter Health Park. But the big names, you got Brent Rooker, you got Nick Kurtz, you got Shea Langoliers, you got Jacob Wilson, you got Taylor Soderstrom. I believe the man, the myth, the hopeful legend Larry Butler will be a must-have. Right now he's a deeper, mainly because of the injury and seeing how he recovers, and if he's just going to platoon, doesn't hit lefties. I think McNeil might be an option depending on how scarce second base is for you. I don't think he's going to do great, but I don't think he's going to do terrible. Going even deeper, I think you need to look at Denzel Clark, not Denzel Washington, but they do look about the same age. And then Max Muncy, not the Dodger Max Muncy, but the Dodger Max Muncy did play for the Athletics at one point in time. So that's pretty interesting. Anyway, I think he might be an option for you. He can play third. He can play second. I don't know if Jeff McNeil is going to be any good. He could, McNeil could go outfield. So again, Max Muncy can play around on the infield. As we get to the pitching, maybe Severino. I'm not super excited about him, though, so I'm not going to push that on you. Jeffrey Springs, maybe he was kind of sneaky last year. He had 14 quality starts, but also did have a 4+ ERA, so thanks. Justin Sterner, if you're really desperate and need a closer, like you might pick up 20 saves over the course of the year. But as we get to the bold predictions, these are strictly going to be offensive because I don't want to predict anything for the pitchers. I think Jacob Wilson is going to hit 335 or above. And I believe that Nick Kurtz and Brent Rooker are going to go 40-100. 40 homers and 100 RBIs each. That's going to be sweet because I do have both of them on various teams. So not the same team. That would be awesome. That's going to do it for day 17. Tomorrow we're going to be hitting day 18. Talk about the Texas Rangers, 2 years removed from a World Series, and they are not looking like they're close to getting back. In any case, this is JK. I want to thank you for sharing part of your day with me.